and good evening. Welcome to Consider This. I'm Melisa Idris.
And I am Ibrahim. Sani.
Tonight, we want you to consider and then reconsider what you know of the news of the day. Now, it has been a historic day indeed. The Yang di-Pertuan Agong, Sultan Abdullah Sultan Ahmad Shah, has picked Bersatu President Sri Muhyiddin Yassin as Malaysia's new Prime Minister. Sri Muhyiddin will take the oath of office as the 8th Prime Minister at Istana Negara tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Now, according to a statement by the palace, the decision was made after the Agong interviewed MPs on Tuesday and Wednesday, and today he consulted with party leaders once again. So, is this the end of the political crisis in the country? And what's next for Malaysia? Attempting to answer those questions, we have joining us in the studio tonight Jiet, Secretary General of the National Human Rights Society, better known as HAKAM. Also, Agyl Hassan, Strategic Director of UMNO Youth Chief Office. Welcome to the show, gentlemen.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Okay, so I'm going to begin with Agyl first, because I want to get a little bit of backstory. Now, what do you know of the events today that has led to this point?
Well, to be honest with you, if you want to know the backstory, I don't really have the backstory because like other Malaysians, most of us are not really sure what's going on because at youth level, we have decided to leave it to the party leadership. We have put faith in party leadership to decide and do whatever will be best for the party and for the nations. And of course, as for the youth, the youth of UMNO, our stance is very clear. We are not, we don't really want to go for any coalition if there is a DAP with it. But we also urge for, hope for the Yang di-Pertuan Agong to call for election, which is going back to give the mandate back to the people, rather than forming a new government with the simple majority.
Could you repeat that again? So no coalition with DAP in it?
No coalition with DAP. That's very clear. That's the principle that we have in the party.
Is it because you don't like Chinese?
It's not. Because I think most of the issues that we have and we face today, it's due because of how DAP play the politics and perhaps how DAP position themselves in the government. It's not only the Malay in the Peninsular Malaysia that's not happy with him, with them. But of course, the Borneo people, Sabah and Sarawak, also feel a bit uneasy with how DAP position themselves in the government, especially with our Ministry of Finance making a lot of decisions.
Okay, well, let's come back to that because I think there's a lot to unpack there. But I do want to bring Jiet into the conversation. Jiet, is this? Can we safely say that this marks the end of the political crisis in the country?
Well, not really, because as you are aware, Pakatan Harapan claims that they have 114 MPs on their side now. So, in my opinion, although the Yang di-Pertuan Agong has made an announcement that, Sri Muhyiddin Yassin, he believes that Sri Muhyiddin Yassin commands the confidence of the majority, there's not much to say that His Majesty can't change his mind in the next 24 hours or the next 48 hours. For example, in Sabah, after the 14th January election, Musa Aman was sworn in as the Menteri Besar. 48 hours later, the governor swore in Shafi Abdal. So what I'm saying is that things are fluid. The Yang di-Pertuan Agong, through precedent and authority, he can change his decision over the next 24 or 48 hours, so we just have to wait and see.
So it only is up to the Agong to change his mind?
Yes, only the Agong has the power to appoint the Prime Minister.
The conversation right now is, of course, to bring the Parliament into session, and of course, the conversation of trying to push forward a motion of no confidence is now currently being debated.
Sure.
What are your positions on this, both of you?
Well, I think Yang di-Pertuan Agong already made his mind up. I think to put an end of this political crisis, I think he has appointed Sri Muhyiddin Yassin to be the Prime Minister. Now, for Tun Mahathir and then the MPs, the rest of MPs that back him up, want to call for perhaps looking into and reconsider the appointment of Prime Minister. At this point, I think it's going to be a bit tough because we as Malaysians have seen enough. And even with the Sri Muhyiddin Yassin as a Prime Minister, I think the best way is to bring it back to Dewan Rakyat and, call for a private bill and go for a motion of no confidence if Tun Mahathir believes there is a majority that back him up to be a Prime Minister.
So that's an idea that you kind of agree with?
Yeah, personally I believe that's the only way that it can mean to move forward. I mean, we have gone through this for the past 2 weeks.
I see you were making some facial expression.
No, vote of no confidence is one way, certainly. But I believe that if the Yang Dipertuan, the other option is going to go to court. You know, as a lawyer, I believe that any decision can be challenged in a court of law, notwithstanding it's Yang Dipertuan Agong's decision, because if in actual fact, you know, there is 114 or more MPs which support Pakatan Harapan, then going to court is an avenue. I mean, we have rights, we are able to ventilate the rights of political parties and to determine who the Prime Minister through the courts. So it's not only through Parliament. That's not the only way, in my view.
Wow, so this would probably be setting a precedent, right?
Yes, I mean, it has happened in Perak. They challenged all the way up to the federal court. I don't see why it can't happen also in this particular case.
But I think this is where our MPs need to have a moral values. If we want to bring this to court, even after the Yang Dipertuan Agong has appointed a Prime Minister, at this juncture, it shows how our MPs who don't really respect the decision which has been made by Yang Dipertuan Agong. I think this is where we have a problem. Because the MPs, I mean, I have to re-quote back what Tun Mahathir said in his speech when he been appointed as an interim Prime Minister. He said that we should put the people and country first and stop playing politics. This is where we need to urge the MPs to stop playing politics and start put the country and people first. Now, I agree that there is also another avenue that we can bring to court as what he said. But, like I said, for moral values, why don't we go back to the Dewan Rakyat after the appointment of the Prime Minister, which has been endorsed by Yang Dipertuan Agong, and let that motion of no confidence pick the place? I mean, it can be done. It's not that something that is go against the constitution.
Do you think that Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin can survive a vote of no confidence
motion?
Well,
to be honest with, like you said, things are fluid. With 114,
is it a yes or a no?
For me, it's not. He is quite fragile at this moment. Quite fragile at this moment. With 114, as per the claim by his side, I think that if with the tradings happening tonight, he might not be able to survive to form a government. He might not.
What do you mean by that?
Because I think we saw that Barubian just came in and signed the statute.
Just before the show started.
Just before the show started.
About 45 minutes before.
We were taught that, okay, we are settling down with Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin as a Prime Minister, and we are settling down. Now it's time for the nation to calm down and the new government to be formed up, put back this country on track. And suddenly, Tun Mahathir said and claimed, even Fahmi Fadzil claimed that they already have the simple majority. So it will be a never-ending process. Let's say that the Yang Dipertuan Agong said, okay, fine, I mean, with the 114, we go and appoint Tun Mahathir as a Prime Minister. And suddenly, Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin claimed that now I also got 114. When is this process going to stop?
Okay, so the chicken and egg argument continues on. Jiet, maybe we can chime in on this conversation.
Yeah.
Is the Yang Dipertuan Agong's part done? He was supposed to appoint somebody, he has. And he's going to, at least at 10:30 a.m. tomorrow. Then that leaves one equation left. You know, like, you know, you can remove that out of the equation. Let's move forward to other equations. Court, Dewan Rakyat, people, whatever. Is that it?
As I alluded to earlier, based on the precedents in Sabah, His Majesty's discretion and role at this point in time cannot be said to be final. He can change his mind and appoint another person who commands the confidence of the majority. And I believe that even in Sabah, when there was a swearing in of Musa Ahmad, yet the Yang Dipertuan there changed his mind 48 hours later. So I understand that, you know, there's no finality to it, but this is something that the Constitution allows the kind of process to happen.
Okay, all right, we're going to take a quick break, gentlemen. Come back and continue this conversation. So much to discuss right here on Consider This, so stay tuned. Thank you for staying with us on Consider This. I'm Melisa. Idris. With me tonight, Ibrahim, Sani, slightly different from Sharad Kutan.
Better looking, that's for sure.
Looking. Yeah. I'm sure he will disagree. Joining us in the studio, we have one Agyl, one Hassan, Strategic Director of UMNO Youth Chief Office, as well as Jiet, Secretary General of Hakam. Jiet, you just before the break, you were talking about the options of going to court and Parliament. I'm wondering now, the next session of Parliament has been fixed for March 9th, yeah. Right? It's just about a week from now. Is there a possibility that Parliament could be deferred?
Well, the Prime Minister has the power to advise the Yang di-Pertuan Agong to defer Parliament to a later date. But I think the Constitution says that one Parliament session from the other cannot be longer than 6 months. That's the only limitation. Okay. But beyond that, yes, the Prime Minister can advise the Yang di-Pertuan Agong to defer Parliament.
Agyl, do you think that Sri Muhyiddin will defer the sitting of Parliament?
Well, to be honest with you, I'm not really sure what he's going to do with the Parliament sitting, whether he's going to defer it or whether he's going to defer it or stick with the plan.
If you were advising him, what would you advise him?
I would say that he should stick with the plan because the longer he defer, there will be a lot of other things that we cannot foresee happen. If he defer, it shows weakness because he's not confident to go into the Parliament and take charge of the government. And if I were to advise him, I would say that just go for the Parliament sitting, go and face it, take the hit, and be very firm on forming the government.
So if that's the way to go, that means we only have like literally 9 days to figure things out, to, you know, really iron out all the creases in the shirt, right? And it's a very interesting patchwork, right? It's a patchwork, right?
Yeah.
You got GPS who is in but not in. You have...
Actually, that's a really good point. I want to hear from Agyl. Perikatan Nasional.
Yes.
Could you state for the record who's in this coalition?
Well, I don't have the details, but what I'm very sure that GPS have come up with a statement saying that they are not part of Perikatan Nasional, but they are friendly parties with Perikatan Nasional. I think we pretty much understand why, because it's very hard to read how public react towards this Perikatan Nasional at this particular moment, because there is a group of people says that they are looking for fresh elections, which is much more better to give back the mandate to them and vote for the new government. But on the other side, say that it's a waste of money for the country to go for another election, which the government has just only formed for 21 months. And then it's okay to form a new government because the previous government didn't have the majority to form one. That's the issues. Now, whether GPS willing to take that chance, because they are going to face a state election next year. That's the part where I think if I were even the Chief Minister of Sarawak will do the same, because we don't want to be part, he don't want to be part of this fiasco, to show that he really want to be part of it, but enough to give support to allow this crisis to be over.
Well, GPS was said to be the kingmakers of this, political crisis. The next Prime Minister, right?
You see it that way?
I see it that way because...
What do you know what was given to GPS for this consideration?
I'm not sure what you meant by what was given.
Well, I'm sure there was leverage, right? They have leverage and they've asked for the national interest and they've asked for the interest of Sarawak.
True.
There was even a discussion earlier in the day about DAP working together with the state government as long as the national or federation, the federal level is being looked after. So this kind of horse trading deal, it's happening, right?
It's happening, but I'm not really sure about the details whether it's happening with between Perikatan Nasional and GPS. But one thing for sure that we know, GPS is not happy with the previous government, because whatever been promised to them are not delivered.
But that's fine. They're not part of the confidence and supply of the previous government.
True. But still, with the promises...
You guys are unhappy with the previous government. It's fine.
True, yes. But I think in the Sarawak case, it's more clearer because whatever that been promised to be given to them, like MA63, the oil royalties,
right.
I think it's a very clear issues that GPS is not happy with the previous
Could we
government.
get a Deputy Prime Minister from the Sabah and Sarawak territories?
I don't see why not. I think, youth have different views on how politics should work nowadays. Okay?
So UMNO Youth is slightly different.
No. I'm not sure about UMNO Youth. I personally believe that it's okay to have the Deputy Prime Minister from Borneo. In fact, in the Constitution, correct me if I'm wrong, but in the Constitution, they didn't state any clause that refer to the Deputy Prime Minister. You can appoint maybe 2 or 3 Deputy Prime Ministers. You can even have 1 woman Deputy Prime Minister.
You don't even have to be, you can even be a senator.
Sure, but it shows unity. It should show unity between Peninsula and Borneo, and having a Borneo Deputy Prime Minister is good.
Jiet, what do you, is that correct to say?
Yes, I mean, the Constitution doesn't mention the post of Deputy Prime Minister, and I think that ideally you want Borneo representation when it comes to cabinet, especially a Deputy Prime Minister's position.
But we have that same problem in the UK, right? I mean, when you have Minister, First Minister of Scotland and all the other stuff, it's the same mess. I just want to focus on what can be done differently in this administration that wasn't delivered for the past 60-odd years that this Sarawak government has been joining with us. Remember, MA63 wasn't delivered not just for the past 2 years. It wasn't delivered since 1963. The oil royalty is still going on. Not because it just started the problem since May 9th, 2018. It's been going on for quite a bit. Yeah. How are things going to be done differently?
So I'm not speaking on behalf of Pakatan Harapan, but I believe that for the past 2 years, there is a special select committee on MA63, and they have tried to iron out issues relating to MA63 when it comes to oil royalty, when it comes to Sabah and Sarawak rights. In fact, there was a constitutional amendment that was being proposed, but for some reason or another, Sabah and Sarawakian parties were not happy with it and did not support it. So there are attempts by Pakatan Harapan. So you can't just ignore all those kind of previous contribution to equate, or to level the playing field within Sabah and Sarawak and Peninsula.
The more than 2/3 of the Perikatan Nasional members were from Barisan Nasional. How do you think Tan Sri Muhyiddin, if he is able to survive the early stages of his administration, how is he going to approach this particular problem of addressing GPS's concerns?
When Yang di-Pertuan Agong appoint Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin as the Prime Minister, I personally believe that it's going to be another Pakatan Harapan issue, because you are not appointing an alpha party to lead the government. This is the real problem. I mean, let's look into Pakatan Harapan. When you are not appointing the alpha party, the majority of the party to lead, then you have a problem of political will. Whether or not, back then when Tun Dr. Mahathir can make a call or make a shot on certain policy decision, it's beyond us, because he still need to go to Majlis President and get some advice from other 3 presidents. This is the problem that Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin might face. But learning a lesson from Pakatan Harapan, I believe this new Perikatan will go beyond that. I think it's purely on serving the people and country. I hope. And this time around, if you look into our neighbour Indonesia, this is where we have a chance to make a difference, to come out with a cabinet that is a functioning cabinet by having professionals and technocrats to lead certain ministries. I mean, appointing MPs is a tradition for government to have ministers in the ministries, but having technocrats, we did that before. We have like Wahid Omar to be a senator and the minister in the Prime Minister's office. We have Idris Jala.
Is that going to happen in the new cabinet, you reckon? Will it be merit-based appointments, technocrats, or will it be, the composition of this coalition? Will it reflect that?
Personally, I don't know. But again, if I were to advise the Prime Minister, I would suggest to have a balance of merit-based and also the political appointee base. Then it will be a focus for him to start putting back this country on track.
Okay. A question for both of you, just very quickly before we go to break. I want to know from an insider and from an observer from the outside, how would you characterize the nature of this coalition, Perikatan Nasional?
Well, if I were to characterize it, it's about to rebuild the country, because we were hoping for something different for the past 21 months. I mean, let's agree on one thing. Whatever we left for Pakatan Harapan, it was not the best, but it's not bad. It's not bad. But after 21 months, it's not getting any better. Then I think it's time for Perikatan Nasional to bring back the country on track.
Perikatan Nasional is not reflective of the will of the people on May 2018. We voted specifically to remove those who are corrupt from power, and now they are back in power with many others. It's a very sad day for many Malaysians and myself. I believe that the will of the people at that point in time, the mandate to govern for 5 years to Pakatan Harapan, and the reforms that were promised when it comes to human rights and institutional independence must be carried through. And I believe that at the end of 22 months, when we have those who were voted out back into power, that is really the betrayal of the people of the highest order. That is my view.
Gentlemen, it seems that we have a difference of opinion and I want to continue this conversation, but we're going to take a quick break. And after this, we're going to hear from political analyst Dr. Sharifah Shahira. So stay tuned to consider this. Welcome back to this special hour-long edition of Consider This. We're almost halfway through. Today, Pago MP and President of Bersatu, Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin, has been appointed Malaysia's new Prime Minister. He's going to be sworn in tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. at the Palace. Joining us on the line now is Dr. Sharifah Shahira Said Sheikh, political analyst. Shahira, thank you so much for joining us today. Now, you've done a lot of work on the narratives of the conversations happening on social media. I'm wondering, what are you observing from the chatter around the developments of the day?
Hello, hi, thank you for calling again. Well, the chatter now, there's divided into two, and the worries is about the to what extent those who being perceived as corrupted leaders will get away from the trial. And then another thing is they kind of there are groups who congratulate Tan Sri, and there are also groups who said there will be more drama coming. Yeah.
Sharifah, there is a development currently happening at Dataran Merdeka right now as we speak. People have gone to the streets, and we have to admit it's not many people right now in Dataran Merdeka congregating there. But do you think that this will continue on, or even worse, exacerbate into something even bigger?
I believe it's not. It's not going to be big, because it's. How to put this? I think Malaysians now are currently busy with their life, in terms of employment, in terms of their family, and then we have this coronavirus going around. and I believe it won't escalate to bigger assembly. Yeah.
I'm just wondering now your thoughts from the news of the day. Tan Sri Muhyiddin as 8th Prime Minister of Malaysia. What do you expect the challenges to his prime ministership to be?
Yeah, his challenges, I think, the thing that I can see, quite obvious, I mean, even by the look of the representation, the far right, to have to balance the far right. And also, in terms of conservativeness of past, and also in terms of how to negotiate with those who are not, not being accused yet, but being perceived as corrupted leaders, not to hold any position in cabinet. And this is, I think, the two main challenges, because these figura are the dominant leaders in especially in UMNO and PAS.
Yeah, and that's quite interesting that you say that, because it feels like the country it's very divided at the moment. What do you think can be done in terms of national reconciliation for us to kind of start healing and mend the gap?
All right, I'm very pro women leadership. I can see that, and I can see most women in supporting Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin are very clean, and they are known to be hardworking ladies, and they are not far right or far left. All right, so I think one of the solution, it is 2020 anyway. It's a good solution for Tan Sri Muhyiddin to put more women ministers. It's not just because I'm a lady, but because this is what happened in a lot of countries, especially, of course, we are not that bad. In the war zone and in conflict countries, they do put more women to cool things up, and then more doer worker rather than high politics all the time.
Right.
Not all, of course, not all men are like that too. But to have the balance, it will be great. Yeah.
Okay. Well, my last question to you is, could you comment on how you think this new coalition, Perikatan Nasional and Tan Sri Muhyiddin's administration, how committed do you think they will be to pushing the reform agenda?
No, the thing is, Rakyat still want their economic well-being. If tomorrow he starts talking about, we will look into economic well-being, that's number one, and we will ensure the reducement of price of goods, and we going to be so serious about unemployment. I think, a lot of people will be supporting him, and he needs to continue talking about to eliminate all kinds of corruption, and also emphasis on peaceful transition, and talk about more and more about how to strengthen a multiracial, element, and say that is our best quality as Malaysians.
Well, thank you so much for speaking with us tonight. We appreciate your time and your insights. We're going to take a quick break and be back with more on Consider This. Stay tuned. like to consider this. Melisa, Idris and Ibrahim Sani here with you tonight. Now, we have on the line with us Fahmi Fazil, Communications Chief for PKR, also MP of Lembah Pantai. Good evening, Fahmi.
Hi, good evening, guys.
All right, so we want to get an update from you because as at 9 p.m., Pakatan Harapan is also claiming majority, saying that it can list 114 MPs on the Pakatan Harapan side. Can you confirm and comment on the current situation?
Yeah, we had a meeting, the Pakatan Harapan Presidency Council. In fact, we just finished a couple of minutes ago. Tun Mahathir will be the interim Prime Minister will be releasing a statement shortly, along with a photo of not just Pakatan Harapan MPs, but also our colleagues from several key leaders from Bersatu who are with Tun Mahathir, as well as our colleagues from Warisan. Tomorrow morning, we will be, inshallah, bringing as many of the MPs as we can to share with the media, with Malaysians, to show that we have these 114 SDs. We have them in hand. And so the question is, how many MPs did Muhyiddin bring from Bersatu?
Okay. I don't know how to go about that, but Fahmi, the Yang di-Pertuan Agong has issued a statement. He has decided that, in his best judgment, the 8th Prime Minister is to be Tan Sri Muhyiddin. You doing this, you as in your faction doing this, what does this mean in relation to what the Yang di-Pertuan Agong has done?
We're not disputing the statement made by Istana Negara this evening. We are calling into question the methods by which perhaps some of these leaders have been going to present before the Yang di-Pertuan Agong. Our question, as I mentioned just now, is did he bring, if he said he had 36, for example, did his 6 in there, his 36, did it include Tun Mahathir? Because if it does, then it presents a bit of a quandary. Yeah? And of course, I'm not a legal expert, I'm not a constitutional expert, but I think a lot of Malaysians, would wonder what is going on. How can he say that he has 36? So, my guess is, if Tan Sri Muhyiddin says he has 114, show us who are your 114. Because this evening, if you saw on my Facebook, I showed a video of Baru Bian coming to sign a statutory declaration in front of Tun Mahathir.
Right. So what's the strategy now, Fahmi? I mean, the Yang di-Pertuan Agong has made his decision, and he is at his discretion allowed to change his mind. What is the strategy now?
No, I think this is not something for me to answer. I think this is something that can, I think a lot of Malaysians are thinking about this, and I think that Rakyat is aware of what is going on. I think there was an interview on one of the other channels just now where a political commentator mentioned that even if he does have really a 114 majority, it's a very slim majority, and if what we say is true, that we have 114. That means we are going to perhaps have, for the first time in Malaysian history, a minority government. And I don't know whether he will survive taking any bills to Parliament.
Yeah, this is in light with that, with the parliamentary session just 9 days away. Will your faction bring about a vote of no confidence? Will you actually put to the table, put on the floor right now, that Tan Sri Muhyiddin does not have or does not support or enjoy the majority support of the parliamentarians, like yourself?
Yeah. I think right now our thinking is that we are still part of, with Tun Mahathir, part of the interim government. And I think our thinking is really, how is it that we can make it very clear to the Rakyat what has happened this weekend? That we have this majority of MPs siding and supporting Tun Mahathir. And, I think, as I said, it's not my place to talk about some of, whether this can be done in this way or not. But I think a lot of Malaysians are watching. A lot of Malaysians are placing a lot of hope in this, what will happen in the next, not only couple of days, but also a couple of weeks or months.
Well, you're also the communications chief for PKR, so you are, of course, in a position to influence some of that conversation. What are you saying to these Malaysians? Because we're hearing so many things from so many different sides.
when you look at the people who will comprise, if Tan Sri Muhyiddin makes a cabinet, look at the faces. And when I did a video just now, I showed in the room, when I showed, I had Dr. Zol there, our former health minister. I think people saw the quality of work that he did, and what he meant to Malaysians at a time when we were hoping for certainty during dealing with the COVID-19 issue. So I think Malaysians will judge, will be able to tell, how these two different cabinets perform. I think, for us, we have to be pragmatic, we have to be realistic. I think we're prepared to go the long haul because we have the moral high ground. I believe we have the moral argument to make, which is that we had the mandate, and it was stolen from us by a group of people who, have something else in mind.
Thank you.
The other question that I have, if I may,
yes,
is
go for it.
What might happen with all of the court cases? I hope nothing happens, and that a lot of these court cases, it has drawn international attention. I would like to see that, there's nothing that happens that will cast any negative aspersion towards our free and fair judicial process.
All right, well, thank you for speaking with us tonight, Fahmi. That was Fahmi Fazil, Communications Chief for PKR, also MP for Lembah Pantai. A short break and we will ask the lawyer in the room what he thinks about the status of those legal cases. Stay tuned to consider this. Welcome back to Consider This. I'm Melisa Idris. With me, Ibrahim, Sani. In the studio, we have Agyl, Hassan, Strategic Director of UMNO Youth Chief Office, and Jiet from Hakam. Now, we're going to continue the conversation we had a little bit earlier.
There's some breaking news, ladies and gentlemen. Yes. Tun Dr. Mahathir has just released a press statement saying that he, along with 5 others of PPBM or Bersatu MPs, are not with Tan Sri Muhyiddin, and he says that the support that has been given to Tan Sri Muhyiddin is actually below what is being announced earlier. The 6 that Tun Dr. Mahathir states in his press release includes Tun Dr. Mahathir himself, Mukris Mahathir, Syed Saddiq, Amiruddin Hamzah of Kubang Pasu, Mazli of Simpang Renggam, as well as Mazli Malik, Adin Shith of Kuala Pilah. On top of this, he has inserted, as in Tun Dr. Mahathir has inserted in his press release, the full 114 MPs that they claim to have their support to form a government. Again, let me repeat, Tun Dr. Mahathir has just released a full press release statement listing down 114 MPs who they claim are in support of not just Tun Dr. Mahathir as their Prime Minister, but also have enough to form a majority government in this Dewan Rakyat.
Okay, so a bit of a roll call of names there. We're going to go down the list and digest that information. But I want to get the response of Wan Agyl, having this statement has just been released minutes before we came back on air.
I promise you, this was not a setup.
Yeah, I mean, like it's literally, as you mentioned, the situation is fluid. It's fast moving. This is another example of that.
True.
Do you have a response to the fact that there is a list of names out there?
Well, again, I think, like I said, things are very fluid. Even with Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin going to form government, it's going to be a very fragile government. In fact, even Tun Mahathir is going to form a government, it will be also a fragile government. Now, 114 is a very simple majority. It's very, very simple majority. Now, let's go through the process again. Yang di-Pertuan Agong have met the whole 221 MPs. Now, how that how Tun Mahathir drive to this conclusion, we know how. I mean, of course, there'll be a tradings involved and whatnot, but it's a basic in politics, right? The problem here is that Yang di-Pertuan Agong already made his decision to appoint. But if, like what we just said just now, if there is a changes in support.
Well, to interrupt you, sorry to interrupt you, but he made that decision based on speaking to the MPs and being convinced that Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin has the support of the majority. Will Perikatan Nasional release a list of names that it says it has the confidence of Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin?
Now it's about what I say and what you said about, right? So if Tun Mahathir have released the names, I believe that Perikatan Nasional should do the same, right? Then we see who actually playing around and, cause this a lot of more chaos, because we thought that we are going to settle down.
Okay.
Now, I think that's what's the best Tan Sri Muhyiddin should do at this particular moment.
Okay. All right. Jiet, do you want to weigh in?
For the sake of transparency, I believe that Perikatan Nasional should also disclose the number of MPs who support them. Then we can identify, who's the culprit, who arises in both lists, and then we can inquire them who they actually support. Back on that point, I believe that there is still room for the Yang di-Pertuan Agong to reconsider his decision based on precedent in past cases in Malaysian history, and the Yang di-Pertuan Agong should look at Tun Mahathir's statement and take it quite seriously, in my opinion.
Well, when we spoke to Fahmi Fazil a bit earlier, he did allude to this statement, so I think this is a development from that.
I guess. Now, I just want to ask you guys, what are your personal opinion on this? Do you guys believe that the parliament should be dissolved? Just ask for pembubaran?
Personally.
Yeah, of course. It's definitely.
I am all for the pembubaran. Let's recap whatever he said just now. He said that this is a betrayal to a democracy. Now, I completely disagree with that, because we need to understand how the government has been formed. The Rakyat has given the mandate to MPs based on election by individuals. But of course, these MPs belong to certain parties, then agree to form a coalition. Now, why are we here today? Because the coalition that formed the government has collapsed because of trust issues or maybe power struggle issues. That's why the new government has been formed by the MPs that have been given mandate by the Rakyat. Now, if we want to say that it's a backdoor government, I completely disagree, because the cause of it, not because of Perikatan Nasional keep on asking to be a government, but because of the power struggle happening in Pakatan Harapan. And I said it because of the Alpha is not leading the government. Now, I'm all for the pembubaran because, again, this will keep on happening.
Yeah, and so what do you think? Do you agree with the dissolution of parliament?
I don't agree to dissolution of parliament. I think that at this point in time, when there's COVID-19 and when there's an economic problem that we're facing, that may not be the best solution in mind. I believe that, you know, whatever majority that is formed today, whoever nominates a prime minister, they should form the government, and by G15, you know, they can seek the mandate.
By that logic, according to Sri Muhyiddin, he can form a government, yeah. So I don't understand the conversation here, because you said that it's a mistrust of the people, but at the same time you want, you know, Sri Muhyiddin to form a government.
No, I'm not saying that I want Sri Muhyiddin to form the government. What I'm saying is that when G14 happened, people voted for a specific MP, but there was a manifesto attached to that particular MP. There was a narrative that we will not support Najib and the corruption that is going on in the previous administration. And now we are going back to the same people who are going to form Perikatan Nasional.
But this is where I disagree. Yeah. This is where I disagree. Now, some people keep on saying and using the word kleptocrat. Okay. Keep using that this country has gone back to the corrupted leaders. Now, let's agree on one thing. Corruption came across all parties. Corruption happened everywhere.
Yes,
right?
but there are legal cases in court of the corruption of our previous leaders.
Let me recap that. We had PH leaders got accused, allegedly go for corruptions, and the case dropped for whatever reasons. Now, like I said again, corruption happened across all parties. Whether or not, if Sri Muhyiddin Yassin form a government and the cases will be dropped, let me give you one example. Dato' Sri Najib has made a statement that he still wants his case to go on. Whether or not you believe in the judicial system, it's up to you now. Because you keep saying, those people who disagree with Sri Muhyiddin Yassin disagree and keep on saying that, oh, the cases of these kleptocrats will be dropped. You personally didn't believe in our judicial system.
Wait, Jiet.
No. The decision to drop lies in the Deputy Private Prosecutor or Attorney General. It's nothing to do with the judiciary. The judiciary can be the most clean and independent, but if the Attorney General appointed by Sri Muhyiddin Yassin is biased or, it is political and he decides to drop cases involving certain leaders of Perikatan Nasional, then the court has no option but to discharge them,
What about Tony, the previous Attorney Generals dropped the cases of LTTE without going to the courts? Are we saying that it's biased decision? I think. No. This is the part. This is the part where we need enough. Strong political will to make sure that the court cases will keep going. And I don't think Sri Muhyiddin Yassin will allow these court cases to be dropped.
I'm wondering about.
Hold to that word.
Yes.
I hope Sri Muhyiddin Yassin, for all his flaws, can elect an independent and professional Attorney General, to oversee these court cases. He can look at the facts and reconsider and consider, but I hope that an independent professional mind looks at these cases.
I'm wondering in terms of the reforms that we've seen, the progress that we've made on certain reforms in the past 22 months. What are the chances of these reforms being continued? How committed is Perikatan Nasional to the reform agenda? And I'm wondering, just in terms of a legal basis, Jiet, Undi 18 was an achievement for the Pakatan Harapan government, and that was, changing the constitution. Is there a danger of Undi 18 being reversed?
There's no danger of it being reversed because the constitution has been amended. But what has happened is that it has not been enforced yet. There needs to be a gazettement on a specific date for Undi 18 to take place, but that has not happened. This current government, if it gets installed, could possibly delay that. But on the issue of reforms, my concern is freedom of speech will drop. We will see a suffering and setback. Freedom of assembly, or even freedom of the media, the ability for us to discuss about politics and to criticize certain political parties. I'm not sure whether that can go on under the next administration if they are installed. So that is a real worry, because these are the same people that have overseen things prior to G14,
UMNO Youth, are you committed to seeing Undi 18 pushed through?
We are all for Undi 18. In fact, we supported the bills, right? I think I agree with him because it has been amended, but the gazettement of when it's going to be activated is still not there. And trust me, the youth is really the future of this country, and we want to be part of it. And of course, we're not going to delay it. And I personally will hopefully I can ask UMNO Youth to just keep on pushing for that agenda to be in place. Now, I just want to touch a bit on whether or not the government need to be there or the dissolvement of the parliament need to happen. Now, let's think about this. Now, with the current government, if the current, I mean, the government is being formed, the Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin government will be formed. I don't think we should prolong it until G15. I believe that at some point, perhaps the G15 will be expedited, right? So I agree with you that the dissolvement cannot be happened now because the Prime Minister need to advise Yang di-Pertuan Agong for the parliamentary dissolvement. We cannot do it now because we don't have Prime Minister. The interim Prime Minister cannot do that. And of course, Agong cannot call, simply said, let's dissolve Parliament. So we need a government. We need at least a caretaker government or a temporary government to just take care of the country, doing what's right for the Rakyat, and at the same time evaluate and assess situations. And if it's the right time to call for dissolvement, then call for election.
Sorry, you were just doing some faces there.
Did you want to respond, Major?
I have no issues on the issue of dissolvement. I believe that the prerogative lies in the Prime Minister. I completely agree. I just feel that at the end of the day, you know, there is a specific mandate that the G14 that we gave, and I think that to the best that we can, we should honour that particular mandate. That's all I'm saying.
How is Perikatan Nasional going to address this trust deficit if Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin's administration is already walking into this with one, on a back foot? How are you going to look to, reconcile a divided nation?
Well, I agree with Sharifah just now, and in fact,
more women. Is that what she said?
I cannot say no to that. I cannot say no to that. I mean, my mom would be angry. But one thing that for sure Tan Sri Muhyiddin have said is he want to focus on the microeconomy and also the people's economy. Because at the end of the day, people are suffering economically.
Right.
And something need to be done to improve the livelihood of the people. Something need to be done to improve the employment issues. And with that statement alone, I believe that Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin is trying to do what's right for the nation.
Okay, that's the economic side. What about the social side? Are we likely to see a rise in ethnic and religious chauvinism?
I always say this whenever people ask me this question. Now, G14 have shown us that there are people who go to the far left and there are people who go to the far right. It's like a yin and yang. It's an organic reaction when there are people who go to the far left. The other portion of the population will go to the far right. That's what happened in G14. And we can see that the Chinese vote has gone to Pakatan Harapan, I mean, more than 90%. I mean, about 89–90%. Now, that numbers has caused a reaction. We have BMF come into place, but people didn't realize what's going on. Now, we need to agree that the center of this country is our constitutions. We have agreed with it. I mean, no one can challenge constitution unless the amendment will be made with the two-third majority. Now, without that, we have to agree on the constitution. That's our center. The Malay have gone to the far right, and I think it's a normal reaction. But slowly, it will go back to the center because we need each other.
You're confident it will go back?
I am very confident. Now, I'll give you one option.
Sorry, we're running out of time, and I do want to give a chance to wait for Jiet to respond.
Just one example that Malays, most of them are consumers. The Chinese, most of them are producers.
Yeah.
That is a very broad generalization.
At the end of the day,
I am so sorry.
At the end of the day, we have to come back together because we need each other. That's how it is now. Economically, it's not with us. We are not as strong as the Chinese population. Well, that's why we need each other.
At the beginning of the day, beginning of the show, you laid the blame for the state of the country and the current state that we're in at the door of DAP.
True. But I didn't say all Chinese are DAP.
Can I respond to that?
Of course you can.
Okay, I believe that obviously there are chauvinist people from both sides. But to be honest, UMNO and PAS cannot be innocent in this entire fiasco. I think that there were extremist sentiments and narrative that came from that side that drove certain segments of the population to where we are today. So they had to take part of the blame too, and they cannot blame the other party. So I really hope that we could reconcile one day. I think we are living in a multi-religious, multiracial country. I think we really need to set aside our differences.
Very quickly, how do we do that? What is the first step for civil society, for lawmakers, for MPs? What do we do?
I mean, very basic issues like being colorblind, being respectful to one another, not raising religious, extra nationalist sentiments against each other.
I will just give you one example.
Yes.
Don't allow politicians to take religions and race as their tool to win.
Absolutely
and
agree. Absolutely agree. And I hope that you advocate for that from within.
It's a good point to end, I suppose.
I'm glad that you both have decided to agree on that note. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. Unfortunately, we've run out of time. I'm Melisa, Idris, with me, Ibrahim, Sani tonight.
Ibrahim, yeah.
On Consider This. Thank you for watching and good night.